Let's dive into behavioral function, or the why behind behavior. Why does the behavior happen? My name is Carrie Sousa Woodward. I'm a board-certified behavior analyst, and I've been working with autistic children and adults for over 20 years now. I see a ton on social media, in autism support groups or parent support groups, where parents are throwing out behaviors that their kids are engaging in and asking the support group for advice on what they should do about the behavior. And I'm like, don't ask for advice about what other people's children are doing and not doing, because what the behavior is does not matter. Okay? I know that sounds crazy, but if your child is engaging in, let's say, head hitting, and you want to know what other parents are doing about their child's head hitting, you are going to be missing the mark completely on why your child is engaging in the behavior. Topography of the behavior, or what the behavior looks like, matters not at all. Why your child is engaging in the behavior matters a ton. Because when there's problematic behavior, like head hitting, the behavior is serving a purpose for your child. If behavior no longer serves a purpose, it goes away for everybody, not just your child, but for every human on earth. When behavior stops having a purpose, when it no longer serves us, we stop engaging in that behavior. That's called extinction from a technical perspective. It just means that the behavior is no longer accessing the reinforcement required, and so the behavior sort of dies off over time. So when behavior is happening, it is serving a purpose for your child. It may be like a sensory input purpose, but it still serves a purpose. And so it's unethical for any of us, you as a parent or me as a behavior analyst, to say, we need to just get rid of that behavior. What we need to do is identify the why behind the behavior, give our child a different, more appropriate way to seek out that same purpose, and then work on addressing getting rid of the behavior that is not serving our child, like head hitting. So if your child is engaging in a maladaptive behavior, it's because that behavior is working for them somehow. It is paying off. There's something reinforcing that behavior. And so we need to figure out, what is the reinforcer? Why does our child engage in that behavior? As opposed to just saying, this behavior is a yuck behavior and we need to get rid of it. Because let me tell you what, if you just work on that route, you end up punishing behavior you don't want to see anymore. Behavior is going to pop up in other ways to serve that same purpose for your child. A lot of times, maladaptive behavior serves as a communication purpose for our kids. They are communicating to us through their behavior. So often, if we can give our kids meaningful communication, we will sometimes see some of that yuck behavior go away without even addressing it at all. Why engage in difficult behavior that maybe hurts us if we can more easily get the end result by using our words or using language or communicating in some way? So the first step always in my advice to parents is work on getting functional communication established, because once our kids can communicate to us, they can tell us what they need and want, and we can give it to them, as opposed to them having to engage in more maladaptive behavior and us guessing at what it is that we need to give them in that moment. So communication is a huge piece of addressing problematic behavior, but it's not the only piece. When we talk about behavioral function, there are 4 main functions that we look at as behavior analysts. The first function is attention, or some sort of social input from other people. Now, when we say attention, you probably think of what it looks like to provide attention to a neurotypical person, meaning you walk over, you say hello, you pat them on the back. It doesn't always look the same. What type of attention that your child is desiring may be different than what you expect it to be. So when we say attention is the function, that's not an easy answer. It just means we've narrowed down the function to attention. Now let's see if we can dive into what type of attention, what quality of attention, what duration of attention, maybe attention from a specific person. So it's not just attention is the end of the road and we figured it out. There's more that we need to do to address it at that point. But attention is the first function. The second function is escape, meaning we are doing this behavior to get out of doing something we don't want to do. Or we are engaging this behavior to avoid or escape a person or a situation or auditory stimulation or visual input. There's something that we are trying to get away from, and so we engage in this behavior in order to get away from that thing. So that's an escape function. The third function is tangible, or an actual physical thing that I'm hoping to get by engaging in this behavior. A tangible item, food, a toy, something is the reason that I'm engaging in this behavior. So when you see a mom at the store with her kid and her kid asks for candy at the checkout aisle and her mom says no and the child starts screaming, we can make a good guess that that behavior is a tangible function, meaning she's engaging in that behavior because she wants access to a tangible item. So we have attention, escape, tangible. And then the fourth function of behavior is something we call automatic. And this just means that the behavior is producing its own reinforcement. We don't need to have anybody else around to provide reinforcement. So for example, when we're talking about a tangible function, somebody has to be there to give us the piece of candy. An attention function obviously requires another person to provide attention. Escape function doesn't always require somebody present, but a lot of times there has to be somebody who's providing that escape to the person. But automatic requires nobody else. I engage in the behavior because it feels good. This is what we call the self-stimulatory behavior. It's part of the autism diagnosis when we discuss repetitive or ritualistic behavior. We all engage in automatic behavior, whether you're autistic or neurotypical. It's just that sometimes autistic people engage in higher rates of automatic behavior and may engage in that behavior at the exclusion of other more adaptable behavior. So those are the four main functions of behavior. For the most part, almost all behavior can fit into one of those four functions. Sometimes behavior can serve multiple functions, and this is what we would call a multiply controlled behavior. So crying, for example, is one behavior. So if you say, my kid cries all the time, what am I supposed to do? Well, we don't know why your child is crying all the time. And they could be crying for a variety of different functions. In one scenario, they may use crying as a means to gain attention. In another scenario, they may use crying as a means to escape a task. So we have to look situationally as well as what the behavioral function is. And we need all this information to help us determine how we are going to address that behavior. So parents, please, please, please do not ask support groups or other parents what they did to address child's maladaptive behavior or problematic behavior, because it does not necessarily mean that's going to work for you. In fact, it might actually make the problem worse if you're addressing it in the wrong way. I encourage you all to seek out support from a board-certified behavior analyst to help you address problematic behavior, to help identify what the behavioral function is, and help you learn how to teach your child a more appropriate alternative behavior. So for example, when we have a child who's crying to escape a task, we need to understand what types of tasks are setting off this behavior. What tasks are your child trying to escape or avoid? How can we give them communication tools to ask for a delay of the task, or ask for help with the task, or ask if they can do that task later, take a break from that task, come back to it. There's a lot of ways that we can help give our children alternative communication tools or other appropriate alternatives to access the same type of reinforcement that their problematic behavior is giving them. So if they engage in crying to escape task, what is reinforcing that crying is getting that task taken away from them. So if we can give them a better alternative and then take that task away from them, they get the same outcome, but they use a more appropriate alternative. So there's a ton that we can do to help address problematic behavior, but we need to understand the function of the behavior, not just what the behavior looks like. If you got something out of this video, like and subscribe.